Hello, I'm Will Yeoman, and welcome to another episode of the pod Well Travelled. I'm joined today by travel journalist Mogens Johansen, who's been back from New Zealand for a little while. And Mogens, I think the last time we spoke, you were actually still in New Zealand, sitting in a car with the rain pouring down outside. Is that right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, you got a good memory, Will. Yeah, that was a bit of an experience, and one of these things, I guess, in particular out on the wild west coast, it can happen. You know, the high mountains there and that sort of stuff. The weather's quite changeable. So yeah. Yeah.
So I believe you had a couple of activities that were cancelled because of that. But we're here today to talk about talk on a more positive note, because you did have this amazing train journey along the west coast as well, and some great experiences that grew out of that as well.
Yeah, exactly. I had been in Christchurch doing some other stuff, and to get across to the west coast, I travelled by the TranzAlpine train, which goes from Christchurch across to Greymouth, which is the biggest city on the west coast.
Okay.
And it's sort of rated as one of the best train journeys in the world, they say. So
really,
it's pretty scenic, and it's got, you know, the panoramic windows in the carriages and that sort of stuff, so you get some fantastic views. It's only about a 4.5 hour journey, so it's not super long, but
okay.
You're pretty much, as soon as you leave Christchurch, you sort of travel across the Canterbury Plains for a little while, but then you're up in the mountains, you're climbing up into the sort of high alpine areas there, so there's always something to see. So it's a pretty special way to travel, actually, isn't it, by train?
Oh, look, I think it is too. This day and age, when people are often want to get from point A to point B as fast as they can. It's nice.
Yeah, the beauty of it is, I mean, as opposed to, I've just as an aside, I flew back from Greymouth,
okay.
Not from Greymouth, from another place called Hokichiki,
right.
To Christchurch, and it ends up taking nearly as long, but because you've got to be at the airport, you know, an hour before, and you got to check in and so on. So even though the flight itself is very short, it still takes up a couple of hours of your day. So I think travelling by train, sometimes depending on the distance and that sort of stuff, can be equally as fast, nearly as flying. In particular, you know, there's places like Japan and Europe where they've got super fast trains.
Bullet trains, exactly, yeah. So you've still got that choice.
Yeah. Anyway, I was digressing a little bit there. But it's a really nice way to travel, and there's only, on this particular TranzAlpine journey, there's only about 4 stops.
Okay.
The main stop is at Arthur's Pass, which is sort of right up in the middle of the journey, pretty much, and we stopped there to hitch on an extra locomotive to sort of pull us through there's a tunnel, a long tunnel with an incline, and when you get to the other side, it's unhitched so that, you know, you can it can slow down the train coming the other way. So so there's a bit of sort of toing and froing going on, but that all makes for an interesting journey along the way.
Yeah, and remind me, how long is the actual journey?
It's about 4 hours.
About 4 hours. Okay, so that's not that long.
No, it's not really too bad. But you know, there's a bit going on sort of all the time.
Yeah,
and it's kind of set up so that, you know, if you wanted to head out from Christchurch in the morning, you could, you know, do the return journey as well.
Like in a single day. Yeah.
But some people choose to. There were some people I was sitting next to who got off at Arthur's Pass. They were going to spend the day at the national park up there, doing a few nature walks, and then catch the afternoon train back from there.
Oh, very nice.
So there's a few different ways you can do it, depending on what your itinerary is and that sort of stuff. So you could make a pretty good day trip out of Christchurch, just up to Arthur's Pass and back down again.
So we're talking about this because you've got a couple of features in this Saturday's West Australian travel section, and the second one is like, obviously there's the experience, and then there's what you did once you got to your destination. So tell us more about that.
Yeah. Okay. So I arrived in Greymouth, and I had a couple of experiences I needed to do in Franz Josef, which is maybe 150, 200 kilometres south of Greymouth. Don't quote me on that just off the top of my head. But so I had to drive down there, and on the way I stopped at Hokichika, which is a sort of little town where there is, there's quite a few things to do there. Actually, there's, mountain biking and obviously there's helicopter flights up to the mountains to see glaciers and that sort of stuff. But the reason I made a stop there on the way down to Franz Josef was because there's a place called Hokichika Gorge, which is a magic little place. You've seen the pictures. I mean, it's a lovely sort of, quite a deep gorge that sort of snakes its way down through this mountainous terrain, and there's a couple of suspension bridges over there. So there's a good little sort of loop walk you can do. It's only, 2 or 3 kilometres. So it doesn't take too long. It's not too strenuous. Good paths all the way. But the attraction of this particular gorge is often the colour of the water. It's that sort of really sort of turquoisey type colour. But it is a little bit dependent on rainfall. Okay. So when there's been recent rainfall, it sort of tones down the colour of that a little bit.
Right.
It becomes sort of more milky in colour. Which was the case when I was there, but it's still spectacular. I was there on a really nice afternoon, so it was a lovely walk around there and spectacular scenery. But from there, I continued on down to Franz Josef, where I was supposed to go on a heli hike on one of the glaciers. Helicopter up onto the glacier. You're kitted out in sort of all the safety gear, the crampons and so on, to so you can walk through the glacier. But unfortunately, as I'm sort of arriving in Franz Josef, it starts to rain in the afternoon.
So this is another example of missing out on an experience because of the rain.
Yeah, exactly. And it just got progressively worse. And
really?
The morning when I spoke to you was, the following morning from driving down from Greymouth. That was the morning I was meant to go on this heli hike.
Right.
And it because of the weather, it got cancelled, and I had other commitments, so I had to move on. So the learning from that is, if you're over on that side of the country, or I guess anywhere in New Zealand, up in the mountains, or you need to allow a little bit of extra time, because things like this happen, and they'll reschedule when they can. I have in the past been there, and the weather has been looking sort of, down in Franz Josef has been looking a little bit dicey. But I did, it's nearly 10 years ago now, I did a helicopter flight as well, up to see the glaciers. And once you lift off and you get up above the clouds there, you're in perfect sunshine. It's lovely. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case on this occasion.
On this occasion, yeah, sure.
But so be prepared. Build in a couple of extra days, and have some alternatives in mind if you're over that side of the country, and particularly want to do these experiences up on the glaciers, which are pretty unique, and they're so accessible, So I was really disappointed that I didn't get to do it. It's just it looks like an amazing experience.
Well, hopefully there'll be another opportunity for you in the future. You've been a travel writer and everything. I'm sure you'll be going to New Zealand again at some point.
You never know. But aside from heading off, missing out on that, I didn't feel like it was a wasted trip, because the drive down from Greymouth to Franz Josef is sensational.
So spectacular.
Spectacular mountain scenery and sort of up and down windy roads. So it's sort of really different from what we experience here in Western Australia, for example. So I felt that I still got my fill of adventure, but unfortunately on this occasion I missed out on the heli hike.
Yeah. So it wasn't quite in the way that you had imagined it was going to be. But as you say, always be prepared. That's the key takeaway from this.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it was. New Zealand is such a diverse place. There's so many different things to see and do. Now, on this occasion, I spent most of my time all of my time on the South Island. Having Christchurch, for example, as a base is a really good idea, I think, because it's recovered well following the earthquakes, and there's a lot to see and do in the town itself. But within a couple of hours you can be in some really vastly different regions of New Zealand and experience all kinds of different things. So that would be another tip. You don't have to go to places like Queenstown or Wanaka or something like that for the skiing, for example, which is coming into season soon. Just outside Christchurch, there's a really good ski field as well. So it's a good base there.
Yeah, so basically what you're saying, you've got a range of experiences available to you no matter where you are. So if you just stay in one place, you don't have to go darting around everywhere.
That's right.
It's quite compact.
From an Australian point of view, travelling in New Zealand is just so easy. Everything is so familiar.
Really.
We drive on the same side of the road.
Oh, of course, all those
the traffic conditions are nearly the same.
Yes.
It just feels familiar and homely. Sometimes you even forget that you're in another country. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Just the accents are a little bit different.
Yeah, there is that, yeah. Has to be mindful of that when you order your fish and chips.
Indeed. As the old joke goes. Well, that's amazing. As I say, we can read all about those adventures and look at the photographs, which is obviously key to this experience, in this Saturday's travel section of the West Australian. Now, let's shift to something a little bit different. You've just taken possession of a couple of new Oppo phones to try out. Most people will know Oppo's a kind of like a budget sort of brand, but quality brand. But this time you've got a budget phone, but you've also got something in the more expensive price range, haven't you? What can you tell us about them?
So I've got two phones. There's a new one that's come out, which is called A78, and that's a sort of a budget phone, I guess. $360. It does what it says on the box, basically, with regards to the phone side of it and the internet browsing and all that sort of stuff. It's got a nice and bright screen, and it's got a 50 megapixel camera. Now, I only received it yesterday, so there's a few caveats with what I'm about to tell you, but because I sent a couple of questions off to the manufacturers to find out exactly. But it's got this 50 megapixel camera, one lens, 50 megapixel camera, right? And but it doesn't use that as a default. You have to switch it to that on the screen. It's just a simple tap, so it's nice and easy to do if you want the optimum quality. But it appears that when it's on that setting, you certainly haven't got zoom options. So unless you pinch zoom, which then becomes digital zoom.
Yeah, which we all like to avoid, don't we?
Yeah, we like to avoid that if we can. So the default setting is that it uses another camera, if I can put it that way, where there's two lenses available. There is a 1x and a 2x. But that's not 50 megapixels, and I can't find anything in the information I've been giving at this stage that tells me exactly what the megapixel rate is on those two lenses, but I'll find out, and you can read all about that in the pages soon.
Yes.
So, but on the face of it, it appears like a really good value smartphone for those who don't want to spend thousands on getting the very best, and having obviously the facilities in these kind of phones that like we've talked about. They've got multiple lenses. They've got really good low light capabilities.
Exactly.
For us who use it as more of a work tool, it's a must, I think.
Yeah, it's worth the outlay.
You have to have the best available. But for other people perhaps who are not super interested in the photographic side of it, but just want some good, clear, crisp pictures, this is certainly will do the job nicely.
Yeah, and your phone calls and your texting and your emails and browsing the internet, it's all there.
It's all there, yeah.
And
exactly.
in a way, it's almost, you don't even want to say one phone's better or best. It's more a case of it's got fewer features than the more expensive phones.
Yeah.
Because it is a good phone. It's not like it's a bad phone.
No, exactly. And our standards, our expectations have also become much, much higher.
That is true.
If this phone had come out 5 years ago, we would have all gone, wow,
completely blown everything else
amazing.
Out of the water. Yes,
but
exactly.
Our expectations have grown, and this needs and wants type of scenario.
Exactly.
Do you really need all these features? I guess if you think you don't, this could be a really cheap and good alternative for you.
And in fact, there's always an argument to be made for second phones as well, just backup phones.
Yeah.
And when you don't want to spend so much money, but you want something that's reliable, this is a really good option.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very good point.
So, do you really need a flip phone?
Well, the flip phone, that's a really cool little thing. They've sort of made a bit of a comeback, haven't they? Samsung make them now, and Oppo have now brought one out. It came out a few months ago, this one, but they included that in the little parcel they sent to me.
Very nice.
I thought I'd have a look at that as well. And that's fully flipped out. It looks pretty much like we're looking at it now. Just a normal
So just to
phone.
clarify, this is the what would you call them? Because you can get the flip phones where it's basically two phones sandwiched together.
Yeah.
That becomes like a mini sort of tablet in a way. This is the other one that looks like a compact when you close it up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think it's a pretty cool little device. I mean, it's when it's folded up, it easily fits in the palm of your hand.
Yeah.
And it's a sort of thing that you can put in your shirt pocket, and that sort of stuff, and it won't sort of stick up the top.
No,
Stuff.
exactly.
So it's a pretty compact little device, and it has a sort of a screen on the outside of it, if I can put it that way, when it's folded up, and it has little. You can set that up, personalize that in several different ways, but it has little widgets, so you can frequently used accessories like cameras and voice recorders.
It's actually a little mini screen, isn't it? It doesn't take
it's
up
just
the
a
whole
mini screen.
space of the
it hasn't got the
phone.
full functionality of the phone, but
bit like a smartwatch, perhaps.
Yeah, similar to it. But it's, as you can see here, it's much bigger. It's quite a big
I know,
screen.
it's great.
Yeah. So all your notifications will come up on there. So if you get an email or a text, it'll come up on there, and you can reply to texts and that sort of stuff on the screen.
That is really convenient, isn't it?
Yeah. So you don't have to unfold it all the time to do that. But even that is a one-handed operation, he says, and fumbles with it. But it's
but
kind
theoretically,
of,
you could do it.
It could be. And the hinge, you can see where the screen folds.
Only just though, can't you? It's
only
pretty
just.
good.
Yeah, you have to kind of sort of flick it in the light to just see where it happens. And it's like I haven't looked into this actual specifics yet because I only received it yesterday afternoon. But it's been tested hundreds of thousands of times. It's rated to be able to open for open and close for years without
more times than
without,
you'd probably need, without wearing and tearing. And so for travellers especially, this is perfect. You know, just so compact and easy to carry.
And you know, it also has this with the flip option. You know, it is easy to, if you're doing a voice or a video call, for example. You know, you can set it up. It's obviously difficult to explain on the
so it becomes the bottom half of the screen becomes like a stand, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And you can set it up in front of you, much like a mini computer, and you know, it can be good for selfies, or if you want to do the voice calls or the video calls. I reckon that's a pretty good feature. And
obviously you have to pay a little bit more to have this kind of phone in the Oppo range. So what are we looking at here?
This one is about $1,500,
which is still a lot less than, say, Samsung, isn't it?
Yeah, but it still has. It's got you know, 2 camera lenses here on the thing, where you know the latest iPhones and the Samsungs have 3 or even 4. Some of them, you know. So it still hasn't quite got the premium camera suite, but you know, it's certainly a very capable camera in this one here.
Yes.
And you know, then you have that lovely compact phone. I think it's the sort of thing that would appeal to a lot of women, actually. It's a nice thing to have in the handbag, and
like almost as an accessory. In a sense. Yes.
It's you know, if you don't like those big bulky screens, you know, this is a compact little, very elegant little phone, I think.
And as you say, not a massive price tag still.
No,
$1,500
not
very
huge
reasonable.
by smartphone standards.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so you'll be, as you said, you only just got these yesterday afternoon. You'll be writing these up, and we'll be able to read more about them in the pages of the West at some point.
Next week, perhaps.
Yeah. Don't make any promises.
See what the boss says.
Indeed. Oh well, look, thanks for being on the show. I think,
my pleasure.
We've covered a lot of ground, and our esteemed colleague Stephen Scarfield is still away on a African tour, but he'll be back. He'll be back next week, actually. So we'll probably try and get him on the show.
Yeah, that'd be
very interested to hear what he's got to say for himself.
Yeah, I will be very interested in that, because I mean, Africa, I guess, is, to my mind, one of the places that, after the pandemic, that has been a bit slower to take off from a tourism point of view. So it'll be very interesting to see what he has to say.
Yeah, so we look forward to. Okay, in the meantime, enjoy the rest of your week.
Thank you very much.